name published in a newspaper. It has to be about, are we creating a workforce that is suitable to build our economy, to create a productive economy? So that is the economic participation that the NCF is talking about. Now, cultural and social participation. Like I mentioned before, the aim of this NCF document, and the way that they have brought about a pride for our own culture, our own meaningful contribution. I think this is something that is very interesting, and this is personally something that I really love about the NCF document, because I remember very young when my son used to say that, I don't know why that everybody likes going abroad, and everybody in India thinks that anything that comes from the West is great. So we are one country which is plagued by reverse racism. And this he was saying when he was 9-10 years old. I think we are one people, right? As a people, we look at everything that's outside as better. And so this is called reverse racism. Through the way this NCF is really fostering pride in our roots, I'm hoping that we reverse this. We become really proud of our own culture, right? So these are the aims of school education. I'm going to take a break and ask what you think are some of the aims that we just went through that left an impact on you. What are some aims that left a deep impact on you? If you can just type that in, that'll be great. We've just gone through the 5 aims of education. The cultural awareness is something that you also found to be impactful. Great. The autonomy, great. Okay. Anybody else who wants to answer this? The democratic participation, absolutely, yeah. Problem solving mindset, that's nice. Child-centered education, yes, that absolutely. I think when you're giving the autonomy, it becomes child-centric. The positive attitude, student agency, great. Once again, I think you guys are really understanding what the aims are, and you're really agreeing with the aims of the national curriculum framework. So with the aims defined like this, are you able to relate back to the things that you had seen, you had mentioned about what you did not learn in your schooling, but you would have liked to learn? With this kind of a shift to match these aims, I think we are going to look at a paradigm shift in terms of how education is going to look, right? Okay, thank you so much for your responses. Health and well-being, topics that cover beyond. Okay, great. Thank you so much for this. So about 10 years ago, when I was when I was actually attending a conference in person, and this was a conference where we all heads of schools and people who are in very big positions in the field of education, principals and deans and all the big position holders, no, the powerful ones of schools were attending this conference. Now, a 13-year-old stage. First of all, as a 13-year-old, to talk to this kind of an audience, I thought was in itself a miracle, right? And he asked one question, which has kind of struck a chord in me, and which I keep repeating again and again, because that's the kind of impact it left on me. He asked, 10 years ago, the kind of professions that exist today did not exist. 10 years later, the kind of professions that exist today will not exist. So what are you really educating me for? And that was like, wow, it made so much of sense, right? So actually, what NCF says is that education has to begin with the values and the dispositions of every child that has to be incorporated before we move into any other kind of curricular aspects of learning. And I think that this is a great move, right? Just like that 13-year-old asked, today our jobs as teachers is not to be just imparting information. It has to be about building the values and the disposition towards learning, right? So NCF talks about these 6 values and dispositions. First is the ethical and moral values. I'm not going to go into this, but then one thing I do want to mention is that do not have a moral science class where you have a story and then at the end of it you talk about the moral of the story is, because our children don't learn that way. I think today's children are learning through models. That means you and me. How we behave is how they will behave. So if we model ethical and moral values, they are going to be learning it too. Democratic values, epistemic values, positive work ethic, curiosity and wonder, pride and rootedness in India. Again, you will see that it's a very consistent manner in which the Bharatiyata is being brought into every aspect of the NCF. And this is something that I think we should be really thankful for, right? So these are the values and dispositions that that are, and I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I don't think I need to go into all of this. Probably have a few more slides, and I'm going to try and go through this a little quicker because I know that we're running out of time. After the values and dispositions, we are looking at capacity building. Because if you don't have the readiness for curricular learning, there is absolutely no way that learning will happen. And what is that readiness? What does that capacity for learning look like? One is building inquiry. Uh, Children should be able to observe, collect evidence, analysis, hypothesize, and rationalize thought, right? You have to build the capacity for doing this, which means you have to allow that to happen in the classroom. Communication, not just verbal, but written communication using different media, digital media, or any other media for effective expression and engagement across all the aims. Problem solving and reasoning. You should be able to formulate, evaluate, and implement solutions. The ones like I told you at Tapas, these are skills that they are developing as we move forward. Aesthetic and cultural capacities. You have to cultivate creativity, artistic expression, and culturally relevant skills for improved well-being and cultural participation. When we talk of art in our present curriculum, I'm sorry to say, but we are dumbing down art for the younger years. Especially in the foundation stage, we believe that children are not capable of expression, artistic expression, especially. And I hate when we include art which is not meaningful, which is not developmentally appropriate for children. For instance, your handprints. Every preschool that I have gone to take pride in showing off children's handprints. Now, handprints have a place in the child's baby book, but not in your curriculum. Why? Because when we do handprints, what is it that we are doing? We have paint and then we have paper. The teacher will hold the child's hand, dab it in the paint, dab it on the paper, and the child goes to wash hands. By the time the child comes back, this particular handprint has become a peacock, it has become a fish, it has become something else which the child didn't create. And this is what we call as art. So I think there is a very clear need for us to build the capacity for artistic expression, allow children to become more messy, allow them to express themselves using art, right? So that is something that is focused upon in the NCF. The next capacity that we have to build is health, sustenance, and work. There's more and more cases that we are hearing today of children who are younger and younger having mental health issues, right? Especially, I think it was just 2 weeks back that I heard of 2 cases in Bangalore where a 10-year-old jumped off a rooftop and gave up her life. I mean, this is so disheartening to hear. It just made me so sad that why is there so much pressure? And because she was scolded by her tuition teacher, this is what happened, and this is why she gave up her life. So we're not building children strong enough to take care of their mental health. So this is also another focus area that of capacity building that NCF talks about. Finally, social engagement. I think COVID has taught us that we don't like living by ourselves in a closed environment. We love going out, meeting people. We have to live in a society. And so, teaching children to foster empathy, cooperation, teamwork, these are all the buzzwords of the 21st century skills that we want children to learn about. And this is the capacity building that NCF talks about. So far, we've looked at the aims of school education, and then the values and dispositions, then capacities, and now we are looking at school culture and processes. Because all of this, what we discussed till now, cannot exist in vacuum. It has to exist within a school that appreciates it. The school culture and the processes that we set in the school are actually what determines whether all that we are discussing will be implemented or not. So I'm really happy today that more than 50% of the audience are people who have more than 10 years of experience. That means they're probably in mid to senior level positions in schools and educational institutions. So you can really bring about a change in the way the culture and processes of your school are structured. So the NCF document very clearly talks about all of this also. What should the culture and processes look like at your school? Finally, what I'm going to talk about is the curricular areas, and this is one of the last slides that I have for you. After making sure that all of these are in place is when the NCF talks about the curricular areas. Now, this has been divided into 8 curricular areas, which is languages, mathematics, sciences, social sciences, arts, interdisciplinary areas, physical education, and vocational education. At the beginning of the chapter on curricular areas, there is a very interesting quote that is given in the NCF document, and this is by Tiruvalluvar, who is a Tamil poet, who says that language and mathematics are the 2 eyes with which we understand the world. Right? In that particular verse, he says that language and mathematics are the only 2 ways in which we can make sense of the world around us. And this is a really great way of portraying what the focus should be on, which is why your NCF also focuses on literacy and numeracy development. Because once you have literacy and numeracy, you are able to then build on all the other curricular areas quite effectively. Right? So the NCF document, NCF is going to be in 10 modules. The first 2 modules are here with us already. One is the foundation stage, NCF for foundation stage. Then there is going to be the present one, which is at a draft level, which is the NCF for school education. Then there are going to be NCF for 7 curricular areas. The interdisciplinary areas are not a separate NCF document, but the other 7 are going to be released very soon after this has been released. And finally, there is going to be one more NCF document on school processes and school culture. So these are the 10 modules of the NCF that are going to be introduced, and hopefully each of that will be very helpful for us to create a much better environment for our children, much better education system for our children. So if you have any other questions that you would like to ask me, I'm very happy to answer these questions. Some more examples, if you want me to give you, I can always give you more examples of what we do at Tapas. Okay, so just before we sign off, I'm not sure if this is very clear, but this is how the whole structure of what we have discussed looks like. At the macro level, right at the top of the pyramid is the vision of the society, then the vision and purpose of education as per NEP, then the aims, then we spoke about the desirable values, dispositions, capacities, then the curricular areas. All of this are built on the foundation of the school culture and processes that is right at the bottom of our pyramid. So this is where we are at. Okay, I'm ready to take questions if you have any. So, what you can do is put up your questions for me to answer. If you have any questions so far, also, if you like a particular question that has been asked, you can also upvote it so that I can answer those first. So, please type in your questions and share with me. It can be about the NCF for school education, NCF for foundation stage, what I do at Tapas. Any question that you have, I'm happy to answer. Sure. Okay. So I'm a little unsure what you mean by dealt with. So is it about? Okay. So as of now, the NCF does not refer to SAFL document in any of the places. Right now, they are mutually exclusive. So there is no interconnection between SAFL and the NCF document. Now, what we need to remember is that SAFL came before the NCF was being implemented. I think this is provided as a framework for teachers, whereas SAFL is more a document which is for people who are implementing at more of an administrative aspect than the curricular aspect. I don't know if that made sense, but that's how I read the two documents. Right. Yes. Right. Right. So I think probably we'll have a better understanding once all the modules of the NCA for school education come out, because it's all work in progress. So at some point of time, we will probably see that it will make sense. But these are documents that have helped get to where we are. And I think that there are going to be more that will come out with each agency that will be responsible for implementing the NEPs. So NCF is only one part of implementation of the NEP. You will have other agencies who will come out with also the reference documents. So the NCF, I think, is more from the teacher's point of view, which is going to make it easy for the teacher to implement the curricular framework. Right. There are some questions that I'm seeing here. One is, can we visit Tapas for a broader perspective? Absolutely, you can visit. You're all very welcome to visit anytime. How to create interest in skill-based subjects like artificial intelligence. I'd like to quote one of the experiments done by Dr. Sugata Mitra here. If you know the experiment called the hole in the wall that Dr. Sugata Mitra had done, in a very remote village in India, he had put up a computer, and it was in the hole in a wall, and only the keyboard and the mouse